King Tutankhamun, otherwise known as the Great King Tut, ruled Egypt as a pharaoh for 10 years until his death at age 19. Around 1324 BC, after his death at age 19, King Tut disappeared from history until the discovery of his tomb in 1922. Since then, studies of his tomb and remains have revealed much information about his life and times, making Tutankhamun one of the best-known ancient Egyptian kings. My name is Jake Tutankhamun Thorielli, and this is Laughs from the Past.
Tutankhamun.
It actually came out better than I thought. I thought it was going to come out a lot more offensive and not good, but I'm satisfied with that.
I have no idea how you actually pronounce King Tut is what I know colloquially. It's King Tut, but I don't know how you pronounce Tutankhamun.
King Tut.
King Tut. Welcome to Laughs from the Past, Season 4, Episode 8. This is the last episode of Season 4, which is all about famous kids or kids that did something worth writing about. A lot of fun episodes, the Newsies, the girls' basketball team, the Little League team from Mexico. This will be the last one. Might be the most famous kid ruler of all time, King Tut. 10 years old, took the throne, Jake.
How nuts is it that, and maybe this was my personal experience, but I remember, hearing about King Tut. The first time you hear about any pharaoh or anything, you hear about King Tut. Or maybe it's like going to a museum, you hear King Tut. And then you actually come up on the history lesson for King Tut, and you're like, yo, get it. And then they're like, yeah, King Tut was king when he was 9. And you're like, what? I could beat up King Tut?
Yeah, you could. Died at 19. 10-year rule, 9 to 19, which is crazy. So this is kind of like an all-encompassing. If you don't listen to Laughs from the Past and you're looking for an in-depth King Tut podcast, bow out, because we're not like historians that are going to give any research. I'm reading some articles in the Wikipedia, and we're just going to talk about, in general, King Tut and how this 9-year-old ruled for a while and how they discovered it and all that. Because it's a weird story. Because, Jake, no one knew about him until 1922.
Right. Dude, that must have been freaking history and archaeologists and other words I can't say, but it's people that dig in the ground and look for stuff. This was the Super Bowl to end all Super Bowls.
1922, when they finally found King Tut, had to be crazy.
And wasn't it also multiplied because it was super intact, or the most intact thing they ever found?
Yeah, there's pictures of it. If you want to Google it, it kind of looks like someone's shed now, and you go to a garage sale or an estate sale because someone died, and you're like, this was his gold? But back then, that was his treasure, and his body was there. The mummy. There's pictures of that, which blows my fucking mind. Humans looked the same back then. Just to confirm that, is insane to me. I do want to say before we start this episode, which is the last episode of season 4. First season was 22 episodes, and we did a 10 episode. I think we did a 12 episode. This is going to be an 8 episode. There's a lot of episodes of Last from the Past. There's a lot of people that have been listening since the beginning. Please leave a review. We haven't asked because that's just not how Jake and I do things. We're supposed to ask to rate and review. There's way more people that listen to this, and if someone was to stumble upon Laughs from the Past right now, they would see the reviews, and Jake, they would be like, this isn't, there's not a lot going on here. How many reviews do we have? 64. We've had a lot of episodes and a lot more people listen than 64 people. So if you've listened for a while, you enjoy the show, this will be my one time. Please go leave a 5-star review and rating and let other people know this is a real show, and it's good. I think this is a good show.
There you go.
There we go. All right, so let's get into this. King Tutankhamun. So I'm going to read from this article on history.com.
Do you know the Steve Martin SNL sketch on King Tut?
I do not. Is it worth watching?
I just sent you the link, and I mean, A, you're going to love it because Jimmy just watched the Steve Martin King Tut skit for the first time. If you haven't seen it, should. You got to go back to the time period, appreciate Steve Martin, because I think that's with like the Blues Brothers guys. That's the band that's playing. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I was going to BS around it being like, you know, a big social thing that they're doing SNL skits on it in the late 70s, and it was a huge thing. But that would just be me BSing, and I just, that's an all-time SNL skit in my brain.
It's good dancing. So. It's good dancing.
Yeah.
All right, so King Tut ruled Egypt as a pharaoh for 10 years until his death at age 19 around 1324 BC. We're currently in 2019.
I mean, we're over 3,000 years ago, right?
Yeah, around.
Yeah.
I don't know the math. Although his rule was notable for reversing the tumultuous religious reforms of his father, Pharaoh Akhenaten, Tutankhamun's legacy was largely negated by his successors. So it seems like whoever the next king was, they just ruined what the previous king did. That was just kind of how it worked.
Yeah, this is a classic case of how we ended up here. It's what the history books tell you and what you find out. Sounds like King Tut. And hey, who's to say King Tut's dad sucked? Maybe it was just King Tut being a pissy 9-year-old and is like, screw my dad.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but his successors ruined his legacy, and no one knew about King Tut until 1922. So we're like way in the future. There's history books found on everyone else. There's nothing about the 9-year-old. Do you think maybe they were embarrassed? Like, yo, did we really have a 9 to 19-year-old ruler? Like, we cannot write this in the books. So they just erased it from all history.
It's it's a debate as old as time, man. It's what's.
I think they were embarrassed.
What if there was a crazy good reason that King Tut was like exiled and taken out of the record books? Like, what if he did something awful that we still don't really fully know about, but we still celebrate him as King Tut?
Maybe. I think they were embarrassed that they had a kid ruler.
Kid ruler. Okay.
He was barely known to the modern world until 1922, when British archaeologist Howard Carter chiseled through a doorway and entered the boy pharaoh's tomb, which had remained sealed for more than 3,200 years. That's insane.
It's nuts, man. And isn't it? I don't know how much they go into this, but isn't there a whole like, don't they booby trap those things and like, so because people were worried about thieves of that time period because they bury them with gold and shit?
Yeah, I'm not positive, but yeah, right. I think there's like doors and there's locked doors. I don't know how good the booby traps were. They were doing something right that it was so like well preserved.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it was all still there. A lot of them weren't still there because they collapsed and stuff, and I think they buried King Tut in like a modest tomb. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't like one of the biggest ones, which is maybe why it survived. Right.
I remember he had a nice one, but not the deluxe package.
Yeah. So I'm seeing like there's like, you know, the entranceway and they scan the walls and everything, and there's like a cool YouTube video on all the tunnels and stuff. And then when you get in there, there's a room. Like there is an open room with a mummy and a bunch of stuff in there. It's so bizarre. 3,000 years it lasted.
It's a long time.
I know that there's some pics of like the pictures at Discovery, and it was like everything that's in there. I know there was like one of those long pharaoh cat type things made out of wood.
Right.
But I can't like find them on a simple Google search, but I know I've seen like really cool pictures of it before. All right.
And isn't
yeah.
I mean, isn't there another like pharaoh curse thing, or like isn't King Tut cursed or something? I know that's normally not your niche market, but I think there's something there. But maybe that's at the end.
We will find out. Okay, here's a good link that I'm going to send you so we can get your reaction to the belongings that were found. I mean, we will get there, but yeah, that's a link. If you scroll down, it has all the pictures of the tomb itself, which is just a square room with all the belongings in it that they thought he should be buried with. Like, there's one really good picture here. It's got like a leopard-spotted wooden cat with a really long body, a bunch of like clay pottery, some Wiccan thing. It's wild. It looks like a garage sale of sorts. But that was all their best possessions, I guess.
Is ancient Egypt the coolest old time period?
Most interesting.
Is that a hot take?
Well, I mean, me personally, I like I don't know if I was to tell you that I like the American West more. Does that compute? Because I like the Wild West.
I think that's fair. I think that's fair. The Wild West, quite literally the Wild West. I think like ancient Egypt, like I don't know, man. Like know what it is? You kind of don't believe shit.
Well, it's not relatable. It's so Fargo and so different that it's not relatable. Or the Wild West is a little more relatable to my brain. So for me, I've always liked things that are a little closer.
I just feel like we've seen stuff from ancient Egypt where, like, we're looking at this tomb right now. Like, he's in a coffin that's made out of gold and is, like, tricked out. And then you always hear these stories from Egypt, like, oh, yeah, we found another hidden room in a pyramid and it had a pool in it. And you're like, what?
It is pretty cool. Their burial system was the coolest.
Like, ancient Egypt kind of had it going on. Like, that might be the time period that I'd most want to go back and party in. I mean, it's ancient Rome, ancient Egypt, 1-2.
The tomb's vast hoard of artifacts and treasure intended to accompany the king into the afterlife revealed an incredible amount about royal life in ancient Egypt and quickly made King Tut the world's most famous pharaoh. So they went from putting him in like a smaller tomb in the kind of the outskirts and erasing him from the record books, and then now he's like the sole representative of your history.
I was going to say, like, is that not the most case of life ever?
Classic backfire.
Erase him from the books, now he's the only pharaoh everyone knows.
Yeah, pretty funny. Pretty good. All right. Genetic testing has verified that King Tut was the grandson of the great pharaoh Amenhotep II and almost certainly the son of Akhenaten, who was a controversial figure in history of the 18th century dynasty. His dad upended a centuries-old religious system to favor worship of a single deity, the sun god Aten, and moved Egypt's religious capital from Thebes to Amarna. After Akhenaten's death, 2 intervening pharaohs briefly reigned before the 9-year-old prince, then called Tutankhaten, took the throne. So it seems like what happened here, if you just want to put on your common sense, his dad was like just really ruining everything. Changed the capital, changed the gods. They're like, yo, we got 20 gods here. We love all the gods. He's like, no, we have one god. They're like, whoa, bro, get out of here. This sucks. And they're like, what if we just kill him and then we make his 9-year-old son the king and then we just decide everything for the son? Like, there were some little fingers doing a lot of work here.
Crazy that that's going to be like the term for guys getting stuff done behind the scenes and being sketchy, like little fingers. Changing the capital is kind of a bad move.
Yeah. If you could change America's capital, where would you put it?
Like, I want it. I'm hands off. Like, you're screwing with Washington.
They did change the capital in the U.S. at one point.
I know, it was Philly, right?
Yeah.
And then, I mean, that had to be a big move at the time.
Yeah, there had to be a lot of people fighting that. Philly had to be pissed.
Damn, I wonder if they're happy about it now.
It's kind of nice to have the history of being the first capital, but still not having the capital. It's kind of better.
Don't have to deal with any of the crap now.
Yeah, maybe the Thebes was actually happy then.
Damn. Okay. Interesting. Capital movement.
They say that King Tut was tall, but physically frail, with a crippling bone disease in his clubbed left foot. Doing him dirty. Like, come on, man. No one knew this.
Skinny 9-year-old with a clubbed left foot. It's King Tut.
He is the only pharaoh known to have been depicted seated while engaged in physical activities like archery. Wow. Got a president FDR here.
Archery. Okay.
Traditional inbreeding in the Egyptian royal families also likely contributed to the king's poor health and early death. Wonder how long it took people to like put it together. This is why.
Isn't that also in? We just talked about how there's life irony that they tried to hide King Tut from the world, and now he's the most known pharaoh ever. How about like ruling families trying so hard to keep it in their families that it ended up crippling their own families?
Yeah.
That's kind of on the same level.
Yeah. That's why monarchies, like, eventually, it's like now we got a bunch of idiots and deformed people. We just kept fucking each other.
Yeah, don't try to beat the system, people. It just comes back.
It's kind of a great, like, move by God. Right? That was like a great escape clause that God put in the human gene pool. They had a big, like, round table. Like, how are we going to stop one family from ruling the world? Well, let's make it if they fuck each other, they become retarded. Okay, cool. Took humans a lot of trial and error to figure it out, but we're here.
We are here. Hard R.
Well, that was God talking back when they were having that conversation. It was a politically correct term.
That was from God. Okay.
Yeah, I was quoting them from a time and place way different than now when they were planning how to make humans. So he's got his club left foot. He's always sitting down. DNA test published in 2010 revealed that Tutankhamun's parents were brother and sister, and that his wife, and Khesium, was also his half-sister. Their only 2 daughters were stillborn. That sucks. Yeah, so a lot of inbreeding. Almost only inbreeding. Because Tut's remains revealed a hole in the back of the skull, some historians had concluded that the young king was assassinated, but recent tests suggest that the hole was made during mummification. CT scans in 1995 showed that the king had an infected, broken leg, while DNA from his mummy revealed evidence of multiple malaria infections, all of which may have contributed to his early death. Dude was fucking sick and twisted up in so many ways, like just not a good hand in life.
Yeah, he's having bad times, and I also think that's funny, and maybe this is me having a comedy hat on too much, but also like we have no idea. And scientists could tell me so many things, and we would have just no idea. Like, I feel like I could go back on this. Like, some scientists could give me an hour presentation on King Tut died from a broken leg infection, and I'd be like, well, actually, I got the tape, and he died, and then when they were carrying his body, someone stepped on it, broke his leg. That's how it got infected. Prove me wrong, scientist. I don't think you can.
It's kind of like there's a whole collection of people that are like, yo, that's his grave. Like, pretty fucked up to go like just dig up his body and like run tests on it. But I also, the historian in me, like loves the information. But what's the statute? I mean, it's 3,000 years, so I think the statute of limitations passes. But like, what is the statute of limitations of like digging up someone's grave for history? Like, can they go do Abe Lincoln now and just like find out more about Abe? Like, is that allowed?
I think there's some interesting dynamics there because they don't have a traditional, well, they do have a traditional coffin, but like this was a room of history. This was a presumed room. Preserved room.
Yeah.
Presumed. It was also very presumed what was going on in there.
Yeah. Very, very presumptuous.
Very, oh my God, all the presumptions. But
just King Tut jerking off while he's dying in a room.
I mean, I'll say this, and I was actually going to come into this saying I'm not a softie. Like, yeah, figure out everything you can. That's cool. I don't know, man. You're starting to get into like deep Egyptian religion and stuff. Like, I'm okay with not looking at the body. Check out all the garb and everything and be cool history, but like, Like, again, listen to where we just landed. Some scientists think he was murdered. Some think they messed with his skull when they were filling his body with embalmment. Some said he broke his leg. It's like, who cares? He died.
I think he was shot in the back of the head by a time traveler.
Time traveler, first gun ever.
Yeah. I have a question. My question is, so in 1922, they found this, and they were like, yo, holy shit, this mummification business worked. Like, we got this body here from 3,000 years ago. Why are we still just putting people in the dirt? Why aren't people getting mummified? Like, do we not care about 3,000 years in the future so they can test us out? Because then I feel like people are saying, oh, this is so fucked up that we can go through this dude's body. Let's not do this for ourselves. And it's like, well, if we think it's cool and worthwhile, shouldn't we be mummifying ourselves right now?
If you want to work on King Tut's body, you have to agree to be mummified.
Yeah, with a sign that says, come work on my body.
And that's the other thing. I got to tell you what, and I mentioned ancient Egypt being cool. I'm not a big religion guy. Their religion stuff seemed pretty badass. You got a bunch of gods. When you die, you kind of get buried in this pimp room, and like you just come to life in that room in another world. Like, yeah.
Only pharaohs. Like, it's not like the guy on the streets. They also had.
I was a pharaoh in that story.
Oh, you were a pharaoh?
I was a pharaoh.
Okay.
I was King Tut's dad. Sucked. Moved the capital.
Moved
Big regret.
Move the cow. Hey, man, what are you going to do when you become a pharaoh? I'm going to change the religion and move the capital. Okay, not voting for you. It's too much.
Yikes.
It's too much for my simple.
Exhausting.
Yeah, that's too much. After he died, King Tut was mummified according to Egyptian religious tradition, which held that royal bodies should be preserved and provisioned for the afterlife. Embalmers removed his organs and wrapped him in resin-soaked bandages, a 24-pound solid gold portrait mask that was placed over his head and shoulders as he was laid in a series of nested containers, 3 golden coffins, a granite sarcophagus, and 4 gilded wooden shrines, the largest of which barely fit into the tomb's burial chamber. Sound like I was singing like the 12 Days of Christmas there.
A little bit.
Yeah.
It got detailed. But
3 golden coffins, a granite sarcophagus, 4 gilded shrines, the largest of which... Yeah, you get it. You get it. Because of his tomb's small size, historians suggest King Tut's death must have been unexpected and his burial rushed by A, who succeeded him as pharaoh. Yeah, he was murdered. The tomb's antechambers were packed to the ceiling with more than 5,000 artifacts, including furniture, chariots, clothes, weapons, and 130 of lame king's walking sticks. That seems like a insult. And here are all those fucking walking sticks, you gimp.
Didn't need all those casual jabs at the end.
Like, can I just be hey guys, in the afterlife, I think I'm just going to be able to walk. So,
can you reference me as the cool king?
The king who definitely could walk without 130 walking sticks. The lame king's walking sticks.
Let's totally call those other guys the lame kings. Let's just try it out with me, like the badass king, huh?
I think lame actually like meant not lame.
Right.
I think the original...
Wasn't that like crippled?
Trying to think. What's the original meaning of the word lame? Because I think like it got colloquialized to mean like unable to walk without difficulty. So it just meant you can't walk good. So it's like the limping king, the lame king. Man. Tough. The entrance corridor was apparently looted soon after the burial. Yeah, right? Like probably put it in the newspaper, which is just a guy screaming in the street, King Tut was buried with a lot of treasure. And everyone's like, oh, shit, let's go rob that. The pharaohs who followed Tut chose to ignore his reign, and as despite his work restoring Amun, he was tainted by the connection to his father's religious upheavals. So whoever ruled Egypt through Tut, because I'm not going to believe that a 9-year-old made any decisions.
Right.
Whoever ruled through him changed everything his dad did. And then a new pharaoh came, and I think, like, let's just ignore all of that. Because if we tell people what King Tut did, then we have to explain why he did it, and why he did it was because we had a terrible ruler. So let's just skip everything. Makes sense.
Forward.
Yeah, makes sense. Within a few generations, the tomb's entrance had been clogged with stone debris built over by workmen's huts and forgotten. Wow. Forgotten forever. That's crazy. Not forever, though. By the time he discovered King Tut's tomb in 1922, British archaeologist Howard Carter had been excavating Egyptian antiquities for 3 decades. Wow. At the time of the discovery, archaeologists believed that all the royal tombs in the Valley of Kings across the river from ancient Thebes, wow, the Valley of Kings, what a badass name,
Yeah.
had already been cleared. Excitement about a new tomb, the most intact ever found, quickly spread worldwide. It took Carter and his team a decade to catalog and empty the tomb. So much stuff in there, and I bet the process was ridiculous.
Yeah, and I also think, I don't know much about the archaeology world, but I think it's not the most lucrative profession until it is the lucrative profession. So I think, like, once you stumble on that, you can't be like, all right, let's clear it out this week and find the next one. It's like, whoa, all right, we're going to have to be here for about a decade, and we're going to need a couple more rounds of funding to do this properly. So, yeah, let's anchor down.
Security, funding. I mean, there's that shipwreck somewhere. This is totally off base, but there's a shipwreck somewhere, and it's off the coast of some country that can't afford to. They're like, that's our money, that's our shipwreck.
Right.
So if you go find any treasure down there, we own it. But that country can't afford to go down and get the treasure in the ship.
Right.
So all the companies are like, well, fuck that. We're not going to go do that and then give it to you. It's kind of like...
Isn't this a Paul Walker movie?
I don't know.
Let me see. Paul Walker treasure movie. Into the Blue. Jessica Alba, Paul Walker. Josh Brolin. Scott Conn. Are you kidding me? What a flick.
I've never seen it. But
it's okay.
U.S. court backs Spain. Yeah, there's a lot of that stuff because the countries try to claim, like, yo, that's our treasure. It's like, all right. Well, that had to happen here. Like, who was trying to claim? Like, Egypt. Why did Egypt, like, just allow this to happen? I don't understand. There's probably a lot of political moves behind this in 1922. Yeah. Like, do you think Egypt was still like, oh, no, we never had a kid rule. No. That was a cat. That was a cat's tomb.
They were like, hey, we'll take the gold.
Yeah. They should, right? Egypt should, like, profit off their history and treasure. That's so interesting. I'm now more interested in that than King Tut himself.
Yeah, I think it's why there's organizations. Like, I imagine all the museums involved in this and everything. So yeah, it's I don't know, definitely a lot of conversations over my head.
They have to profit really nicely off that. Like, you have to probably pay Egypt a ton of money to even, like, start a dig, and then even if you come up empty, you still owe them.
Yeah, there's actually, I think they make, like, contracts for that stuff, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, I don't know. King Tut was buried in the tomb of the Valley of Kings. It is believed that his early death necessitated I lost my spot on this thing I was reading.
Okay.
Which is a bummer. But I have another article here. I think I got to the end of that article. And I have another article. I don't know if it has any new information. Like, we don't know much about him. The picture of his tomb is crazy, though. He was a tall-looking kid. 3 coffins, Jake, one inside the other.
Classic.
Research suggests that King Tut died from gangrene infection. You're right. I just don't know. I don't believe any of that research. Because, like you said, nah, that was a worker. Sneezed on him.
Yeah, like unless we've got like I do believe in like hieroglyphics and communication. Like if there was a spot in everyone's tomb where they wrote like how the king died, and it was like, you know, it was a picture of like the Jets logo and like Rex Ryan and it said gangrene, I'd be like, all right, I believe it. But otherwise, I'm not really buying in. They list him at 5'11".
Oh, nice. Super tall back then. Tallest guy in the world, probably.
Good for him.
Around 1332 BCE. Well, are Egyptians tall people? I don't think they are.
I don't think they are, no. His mom's listed at 5'2".
Good for her. What about his wife?
Yeah. I don't have that currently.
He married Ankin-Hisanamun, his half-sister, and the daughter of Akhenaten. While the young couple had no surviving children, it is known they had 2 daughters, both likely to have been stillborns. Evidence indicates that following King Tut's death at age 19, his wife contacted the king of the Hittites, asking for one of his sons as a husband. Wow. The Hittite king sent a candidate, but he died during the journey, most likely assassinated before he got to the royal palace. Wow. Bummer. Got to go marry this widow, and then you get killed because they don't want you to marry the widow.
Seems like a trap in hindsight.
Yo, my husband died. Can you send me a new one? You're a rich, powerful family, right? Can I just have one of your kids to marry? It's kind of a bummer that mine died.
So I will take one. Please and thank you.
Yeah. Just make sure he's not prone to gangrene. He's really fucking up my life over here.
Do you think people were hot back then?
No. Not like the way we. No, there's so many changes have been made that I think if we saw the most beautiful woman from 1300, we'd be like, why are her teeth so bad?
Yeah, that's a great call. Like dentistry wasn't where it was. Like body maintenance, wasn't where it was.
Yeah. Her hair seems pretty like she hasn't washed it in years, and they're like, what do you mean wash my hair?
Yeah. Okay, that's cool. Because, yeah, I ended up clicking on Nefertiti's, like, Google page. And I don't know. Like, I bought in for a second.
How do they have a picture of her? What do you mean?
Well, dude, they have, like, statues of her that were well kept, I believe, from her tomb.
How do you spell this name?
Nefertiti. Uh-oh. No stopping it now.
Nefertiti. Okay, I see now. Well, she's got a big hat on.
Right, and, like, she has makeup on, so my thought process was like, okay, they definitely had makeup back then. Like, it wasn't made out of what it's made out of today, which actually is a bad comparison. They make makeup out of weird stuff. We saw whale puke the other day. But
Nefertiti
I
looks
don't know.
attractive.
Yeah, I mean, from her bust, and I mean that in the literal fashion.
Yeah, she got a long neck.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, this is why we like art and stuff. Like, there was clearly some realism involved in this, so I don't know.
What if we, like, did, like, do you think, like, BuzzFeed has, like, a most beautiful women from the 1700s? Like, that's even going far back. This seems like a fucked up list to make, actually.
Yeah.
And then, like, fashion got real weird there. Weird. Yeah, let's go back to King Tut, because I got in a weird place there.
I was going to say, were people not healthy, but they did a lot more walking and stuff. I don't know. It's a conversation for a rainy day.
Because Tut was just 9 years old when he assumed power, the first years of his reign were probably controlled by an elder known as A, who bore the title Vizier. Of course.
Here's your guy.
Yeah. I mean, he was his successor as well. So, yeah.
Yeah.
He waited till he waited till it was like, okay, I'm not murdering a kid. He got 19 and he was like, yo, he's like cripple anyway. Like, let's just get him out of here. I'll take over.
Might do him a favor.
And then we'll erase him from history. Yeah, A was a mastermind.
Yeah.
And he was like a mastermind that won. Like, until 1922, he was just like the dude.
He lost in the long run, Jim.
A was assisted by Harambab, Egypt's top military commander at the time. Both men reversed Akhenaten's decree to worship Aten in favor of traditional polytheistic beliefs.
Right.
He had the court moved back to Thebes. He sought to restore the old order, hoping the gods would once again look favorable on Egypt. He ordered the repair of the holy sites. So he just erased everything that Tut's dad did and then was like, okay, Tut, things are back to normal. You're dead. I'm just going to be the king now, Pharaoh. In the end, King A-Y is how they're spelling that for the people just listening. He was the man, I think. I think he's the dude.
I just had a good mental laugh in my head. Like, you picture two guys on the street talking politics or something. Like, this Trump guy's a mess. They have no idea what they're doing in politics. The second you want to get something done, you can't get it done. Imagine, like, the political conversations on the streets of Egypt when they just moved back the court and the capital and the gods, like, back and forth. They're like, what are these guys doing in politics? Moving the court and changing our gods? Like, what? Stop.
I think it's funny, like, for someone to tell you you're only allowed to pray to one God now. Like, they only exist in your brain anyway. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, who are you to tell me that?
Yeah.
It seems like a weird thing to be like. Well, religion in general is weird.
A little bit.
Like, what do you mean? I'm just going to keep praying to all the other gods. You're not allowed to. Like, what are you going to do? Arrest me for my thoughts?
Yes.
Yeah, probably. Did you think about Did you think about those other gods right there? I saw you thinking.
Yeah.
No, I was just thinking about Aten. I promise. I don't know. It seems like you were thinking about a lot of other gods. You have
a
done.
lot on your mind,
yeah.
For sure.
Psst. Singed.
Persecuted.
Yeah. Wow. Tough. This episode, I mean, this season is about children history. King Tut was a child, but all the history kind of revolves around the men around him. His dad, the people who guided him, and the people who found his tomb.
And I think the other thing that's thrown us off here is, I mean, a lot of the kids that we've talked about that did really cool stuff in history, King Tut didn't really do anything good. He just got discovered.
He just kind of was like a sickly cripple kid.
He was kind of the first Justin Bieber.
Well, Justin Bieber has talent.
So does King Tut. But no, they both kind of just got discovered and took off, you know?
Yes, but Tut got discovered 3,000 years after the fact. The whole nation was like, we're embarrassed of that kid. And now he's like their face.
It's true.
They were like, went out of their way to make sure no one knew about King Tut. Now it's the only guy they know about. Who has ever heard of A? Pharaoh A? I never heard of that. Yeah. And he was like, did everything he could to not talk about Tut. And now it's Tut, 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 Tut. Steve Martin's making King Tut videos on SNL. Not Pharaoh A.
Pharaoh A. Which does have some song possibilities too, but.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, that ends this episode, I guess. I don't even know. That was a lot of weird conversations.
Yeah, we stumbled into a lot of tangents. I think, I mean, it is arguably one of the most famous kids ever? Question mark?
Yeah?
Is King Tut the most famous kid ever? Internationally known.
Like Michael Jackson may have been at one point.
Yeah, that's true. I don't even know, because, I mean, music is obviously super popular, but I feel like if you're any kid anywhere in the world that learns about ancient Egypt, like, know how, like, I guess this used to be my attitude in college, which shows a lot about me. But, like, if I came into a class, I was like, well, what are the 3 things I need to take away from today?
Yeah.
And if you take an ancient Egypt class, like, number 1 on the board is, like, you need to know who King Tut was.
Well, was Cleopatra a kid? Like, was she a youth when she got her start?
Cleopatra. Like, again, there's another person that sounds hot. Cleopatra, let's see.
Well, dude, she was all, like, sexualized, sleeping with Julius Caesar, sleeping with Mark Antony, suicide by snake bite. Like, there's a lot of sexiness around Cleopatra.
I don't know. All the years are in BC. I can't interpret this at all.
Let's Google how old was Cleopatra when
Her reign was 21 years, and she died at age 39. So I don't think she's permitted in this.
She was 18 when she took the throne.
Which, I mean, back then was like your 30s. It was your prime.
Yeah, that was like King Tut was dying by then.
Yeah, King Tut was a year away from his reign.
Yeah. All right. That ends this episode. Hey, once again, please leave a rating and review 5 stars and just say like King Tut sucked or something. I don't know. And we will be ending this season, and we are going to do some one-off episodes while we prepare. I have a lot of future seasons that are like themed in mind. Just have to do a lot of research and preparation for them. In the meantime, we're going to do some one-offs like season 1. So if you have just a weird story from history that you wanted us to do, send it in at JohnBoy_ on Twitter, at Talkin' Jake on Twitter, or Jimmy at johnboymedia.com if you would like to email it in if you don't have a Twitter. Send them in. I think I have some, Jake, on a list, like one-offs, and then we're going to try and work on a future season, of a big thing. But thank you guys for listening. We appreciate it. We will be back probably next week, unless we take 1 week off, but I don't plan on it. And, leave those reviews. Thanks. Any last words, Jake? Final thoughts on King Tut. Final 3-word description of King Tut now that you know more about him.
I just Googled, was Cleopatra hot?
And?
It's looking like no.
Nice. My 3 words would be King Cripple Kid.
There you go.
Cleopatra, not hot. See ya.